See, everybody, this is Blake McCammon. He is one of the co-founders of Protohack. Welcome. So you've been hanging around Hult, so you know Hult pretty well, right? You know Hult pretty well?
Almost more than I do, but
okay.
He's told me a lot about it. So.
Okay, so you have a pretty good feel for the diverse geographical background of this group of 70 plus MBA students, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So this class, of course, is Disruptive Innovation, and we've spent the last 3 days talking about disruptive business models, but a lot of it, of course, is how you validate your MVP, and then you validate product market fit, and you find your business model. But to validate an MVP, first you have to create a prototype,
exactly,
which is where you guys come in.
Yep.
So we have Startup Weekend. They've ran 18,000 hackathons last year. We have Major League Hacking. They've run hundreds, right?
Yeah.
But the challenge with those is they're not geared to this group.
Exactly.
Because you need to code. So talk about the inspiration. How did this all come to be?
Yeah, so Cole and I, we wanted to create apps ourselves because if you live in San Francisco, you're inundated with everyone like creating the next new app. Your friends are in tech, they're always coding and building. And so we're not coders, and to find a developer is a headache and a nightmare in itself. So instead of us like trying to build an app ourselves, we wanted to flip it around and help people create businesses and be able to like start their own company without having to know how to code. And so that's where Protohack came up, where we came up with it.
Okay. And what do you hope people to be able to, so it's a 12-hour experience, right? So a very intensive full day.
Very intense. And
because this is like a 10-hour per day class, so these guys understand what it's like to be in a room for 10, 12 hours.
Yeah.
But obviously a lot of energy, right?
Yes.
What is it that you hope people are able to walk away from this full 12-hour day with? What's the change that they're going to get?
So our audience isn't your technical person. It's your person who's been in finance for 15, 20 years. It's your person who's been in healthcare or some specific industry. And they see the challenges and they see where technology can help it. And so we want those people to come and we want them to be able to learn about prototyping, validating ideas, understanding the mechanics it takes to start a company. And so our main takeaway is obviously a prototype of an idea that you've had forever that you haven't been able to put on paper. And just really a sense of, you don't have to be a coder to start a business. You can do it without knowing a single line of HTML or CSS. Like anyone can build an app and start a company if they have their mind to it, basically.
Okay. So, and it's very important that you understand, because not all of you have engineering backgrounds, right? You know what a prototype is? Prototype is thinking with your hands, okay? Because there's this wonderful quote that I shared before, right? Which is, the illusion with communication is we think that it's actually been effectively accomplished. And unfortunately, words are ambiguous. But a prototype is unambiguous. A prototype is, I know what you're thinking because I'm holding it in my hands or I see the screens. And now I am far more clear about what your intent is. And the ability to reduce your idea to a prototype gives you a far, far more precise understanding of the idea that the entrepreneur is bringing to the marketplace. And so that's why the prototype is such a critical part of this whole process. And you saw Kayla yesterday. Kayla's a young entrepreneur who is now at Highway 1. She went through 30 weeks with Google. She's an extraordinarily talented young entrepreneur. And she's building an Internet of Things device, right? And she's created multiple prototypes, starting with MVP 0, right? Very, very rough, what she called low fidelity prototype, right? So this is exactly the kind of thing. But now, she has design thinking skills, and for many of you, you don't. So how many of these have you now run? How many protohacks have you guys run so far?
So we ran 9 in the last 12 months. Okay. And we have another 10 happening in the next 3 months.
Including one here on the 19th, 19th of September?
Yeah, September 19th. What we did is we turned the model into more of a chapter model where we don't physically have to fly out and do all of these. Yeah. And we've gotten a group of people to run them for us in different cities now all over the world. Because we're in London right now, we're in Vancouver, and we're in Israel, but I can't remember the actual city we're in.
Berlin.
We're not in Berlin yet, almost.
Okay. Almost.
Yeah,
okay.
we're talking to
this
people.
Okay,
yeah.
This guy. See this guy? Remember him?
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah,
that
guy.
Okay, cool. So So for a lot of people in the room that will probably continue to be in San Francisco in a few weeks' time,
Yeah.
they just register?
Yeah, we'll give a 30% discount to all Hult students.
Cool.
Use the code HULT. I haven't created it yet, but.
Yeah. Wait till, give him 5 minutes after he gets in the Uber car before he does it, right? Exactly.
But yeah, it's a really great day where you can take an idea, a 10,000-foot idea, and really understand your customer, the industry, and do a lot of research around, is it a viable product? Is it going to work?
Yeah.
And you'll have great people that you will meet for the first time there that'll help you run through an idea.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now, there's obviously you introduced them to a variety of sort of prototyping tools.
Yeah.
So talk about some of these tools and why you would use one versus another, and give them a little bit of an overview of the tool set that they would get to learn.
So the main two is Proto.io and Envision app. And Proto.io is a basic drag and drop. You don't have to have any kind of design skills. You can load it up and basically drag a button where you want to drag a picture. The Envision app is more for those who are design friendly and know Photoshop, and you can actually create your design in Photoshop and drag it into Envision and then create hotspots in it.
Okay.
So, and then people use PowerPoint as well, so you're not limited to using a prototyping app, it just helps visualize a screen better, and you can see the flow of the app a lot easier.
So this is really primarily for people creating digital innovation as opposed to physical innovation.
We have started working on getting out of the digital sense and just trying different type of prototyping hackathons.
Yeah.
But for the main event, it's more digital.
Okay, so you're playing with 3D printing, for example?
We're playing with a hardware person up in Chicago.
Okay.
And doing a prototyping hardware type hackathon.
Okay, as a bit of an experiment.
Yeah.
Okay. So out of these many hackathons or proto hacks that you've run, anybody come out of this and actually become a company?
Yeah, so we had one launch at Collision Conference in Vegas earlier this year.
And Lorena was there, right?
Yeah, it was a company called Cloud Keys, and what they did was they were creating an app that allowed people to unlock apartment gates in front of their complex a lot easier than having to drive up, scan a key, then look the gate open. And then we have a few in beta right now that are getting ready to launch full on.
Cool.
Yeah.
Now, is there any alumni community that you create? So let's say they go to a Protohack event. Is there a post-event sort of experience or post-event community that you're looking to create here?
So if anyone knows what Slack is,
of course.
We've created a community on Slack. We have about, I think, 300 or 400 people on it right now, and we just launched it a couple months ago. And it's really for people, first-timers coming to Protohack or after the event, just to get advice on where to go next.
Cool.
And Cole and I are there. We've invited some judges who are entrepreneurs in their own sense to come and help mentor people on Slack in a very casual area.
That's cool.
Yeah.
How about prep before they show up at the event? What would give them the opportunity to get the most out of their 12-hour experience? Anything that they should start maybe thinking about reading, playing around with to be even that much more effective during that 12-hour experience?
So really, if you want to learn the prototyping tools beforehand, you can really learn them in half an hour. So we plan times of the day where you have that opportunity to learn, because we know people are extremely busy and they don't always have time to do a lot of prep.
Yeah.
But we've had people honestly walk in the day of, not knowing anyone, find a random stranger, and then come out winning the whole thing.
Wow.
So it's definitely doable. If you go by yourself and you don't have a team, just walk in and you never know what happens.
Okay, so they can come in independent, or they can come in with a team and an idea.
Yeah.
With the plan to kind of, evolve that into a prototype before the end of the day.
Our New York winners at 2 New York events ago didn't have an idea, didn't know each other, walked in the day of, found each other as a 2-person team, and won the whole thing.
And what was their idea?
I honestly don't even know.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've done a lot of them.
I hear you. I get it. It's all blurry at some point.
It is all blurry.
I got it.
Yeah.
How about when you think about the traditional 2 or 3 day hackathon, right? You made a very deliberate decision to do this in 12 hours. What was the thinking behind the single day versus the multi-day?
Yeah, so I've done startup weekends before, and I know I'm fairly busy. I have a day job, and then I have Protohack as a passion project of mine. And I know I don't want to spend my Friday, Saturday, and Sunday doing one thing, especially if I travel all the time. And so when I'm in town for a weekend, I don't want to give it my entire weekend.
Okay.
And we've been able to head down everything and really deliberately plan out the day where people are getting education in the morning, they're getting inspiration in the morning, they have a good 6 hours to like just crank it out, and then, you know, presentations at the end.
Okay, cool. So what questions do you guys have for Blake? Yeah, please.
Do you have any sort of like guidelines that you use to like, so how does the winner get decided? Do you have any tools, like you said, you mentioned Proto.io as well as Envision, right?
Yeah.
Now, do they have choices of what they want to use, or like, how does that training or process work?
Yeah, so you can use whatever tool you want as long as you're not coding. And we actually have 4 levels of judging criteria. And I knew someone was going to ask me this and I didn't memorize them. But it's over like your validation, your idea. Is it feasible? Like, are you going to be able to, how are you going to get your first 10,000 customers? And one is part design as well. So does the app look good? Does it flow? And that's all on our website, and everyone can read that prior to getting an idea.
Okay, Ashton?
I want to know how much support you get at these events, like how much, I guess, staff compared to people that come. How much help do you get while you're there?
Yeah, so we have about 5 mentors who come and mentor throughout the day. We invite 3 product mentors who can help walk you through your idea, and you sign up in 15-minute intervals with them. And then you have pitch mentors, so they will help you take your 10,000-foot concept and shrink it down into a 90-second presentation.
So you can schedule sort of 3 individual 15-minute
Yeah.
mentor sessions
Yeah.
over the course of the day.
And then we also have a mentor walking around,
Yeah.
and all you have to do is stop them and be like, hey, we have a question, or where you look at this, and they're really helpful about it.
Cool. Yeah, please, Sharif, and then I'll come to you.
So, is it something that you are purely running this business as a hackathon model all the time, or is it accelerator program also post you are selecting some idea, how the path forward looks like for the company?
So right now we're just running it as a hackathon idea. We've been brainstorming on how to take it post that,
Yeah.
but right now it's still new and we're still making sure we have validation in a lot of cities just to get it off the ground.
So just like I just shared the example of this company here called Good Eggs that had raised a bunch of money, it was named Start of the Year. They just announced they're shutting down all of their operations other than San Francisco because they expanded too quickly. And I've been telling the class from day one, even Uber and Airbnb started small and got big.
Of course, yeah.
So you can imagine they validated their model in San Francisco, and now they're scaling, but they're scaling their current MVP.
Yeah,
Right,
we're,
and the MVP is a one-day prototype. Now, over time, maybe other stuff, the way Airbnb added castles and islands.
we are thinking about adding a
Yeah.
sort of an idea hackathon where you can get easy validation of ideas.
So more of an ideation experience.
Yeah, and so that would be a precursor to actually that,
Cool.
so.
So, yeah, and then I'll come to you next, okay, David?
Is there like a minimum number of people per team, minimum or a maximum? Because
No, you,
I have a team of 4, but they're not here. So can I just come alone? We have an idea, we want to see if we can go through the whole process. But my team's not here with me, so can I just, one person be?
yeah, we've had one person, I don't know if we've had one person win, but we've had them take first, second, or third for sure.
Okay, David?
So after this hackathon, do you support the winners or the ones that created the best prototype to connect to an actual developer, or like a second step after what it's like to?
Yeah, so the top 3 winners actually will win $5,000, $3,000, and $2,500 worth of design and development services. So you'll be connected with a firm that we had at most of our hackathons. You'll be connected with a lawyer if you win to help look at patents and the legalness behind your idea, and a few other things that'll help you jumpstart it.
Cool. Rashmi?
Considering that this is a non-coder hackathon, how different are the results from the hackathon compared to the other ones?
So it takes more time for people to take their idea from a Protohack to like an actual beta launch, just because you're not a coder. And with most hackathons, they're all coders, so they can basically launch it at a hackathon. But I mean, it usually takes anywhere from 6 to 12 months to like really get a core team of people, because all these people that come have day jobs as well. So you're having 2 jobs. But we've seen great companies come out of it that would come out of a regular coding hackathon as well. It just takes a little more work.
Romulo?
Just to see the evolution of Protohack, So how was the first and the last one you did? Is it comparable?
Yeah, the first one, we had no idea what we were doing, and we never followed up with anyone. We just ran it, and
It just happened, it was an event. It was an
yeah,
event.
It was an event, basically. It was a one-time event, and then now we're collecting all sorts of data where we're understanding like who comes to the event more. We're understanding where they're coming from, like why they're coming to the event, and then now we do quite a few follow-ups with everyone. Not if they didn't win, we'll still follow up with them just to see like where they're at and how we can assist them. And
So you're building community, you're trying to create a
Yeah,
community, right?
exactly.
Raphael? Yeah.
What's
and
your
Mary,
favorite
and then-
winning project and why?
My favorite project actually wasn't a winning project though. It was an event app where it aggregated data together for events, and there's a lot of companies out there that do something like it, but it took it from a more events person's point of view instead of, you know, an owner of a company trying to get events off the ground. It took my point of view into
Right.
how I think when I run events. So, they just launched beta-wise, so that was my favorite, but it wasn't a winner.
Cool, cool. So Cole, just, I'm gonna introduce you 2 seconds. So Cole, anyway, Cole Fox, co-founder. Let me drain a couple more questions and maybe you can sort of just overlay your perspective and we'll catch you up, okay?
Sounds good.
All right, Marion, please. Yeah?
So, for whom do you create those prototypes? Are it companies, or is it just ideas? Is it the people who come to your events, are the entrepreneurs who try their own stuff and present it to you? Or do you also have companies who want to have prototypes for their business model or their ideas?
Yeah, right now we just have, you know, regular old people come to the event and they're interested in creating an idea, so they essentially become entrepreneurs in that sense, yeah.
Go, yeah, please. Janice?
Two
Yeah.
questions. What's your revenue stream, and what's been your biggest challenge so far while you've been developing the business model?
Get that one.
Good timing, man. Perfect timing.
Got the business guy here for a reason.
Yeah, exactly.
It's through sponsorships and ticket revenue. And what was the other part of the question?
What's been your biggest challenge?
Biggest challenge? Well, in short, it's evangelizing it all over. And it's sort of the classic chicken and the egg thing. The more people that know about it, the more value that can be created through the program. And as we've grown it and gotten more value, we're seeing it to spiral into more success and create more value for people. So I think we're making good inroads with blogging more and, you know, just getting more of the educational material out there, refining the program, and as that happens, more people can go through the program and get more value out of it.
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting issue because I think everybody in this room instantly gets the value prop, right? All of you guys want to be a part of the innovation economy. A lot of you feel like you're second-class citizens because you can't code. And you know how important it is to be able to create a prototype, right? But their job, you know, with a very lean capital structure is to get that word out globally. And so I think this model that you guys have landed on seems like it's going to be the one that's going to scale, right? Much more capital efficient. So yeah, please, Saad?
I wanted to ask you guys, so you're working with a lot of people that don't know how to code, and I don't know how to code. But the question was, after your 112-hour session, do you guys have like maybe advancement classes as well, or is it just this and then you move on to something else?
So I think down the road, we'll definitely have, you know, post-Protohack type events where you can come and take what you learned at Protohack and your idea and just keep refining it.
Yeah.
But right now, we're scaling the idea of Protohack, so we haven't really come up with poster free type events.
Yeah. And Saad, you have to understand that they're fulfilling a unique role in the ecosystem, right? That there are pre-accelerators like Startup Next, and there are accelerators like Techstars and 500 Startups. So there's already a lot of people downstream from them that can accept a well thought out prototype that becomes a well thought out startup idea, right? Now they can clearly grow their community. And I love the idea of going upstream and creating an ideation platform so that when you do walk in for a Protohack event, you're working on an idea that's had some validation already, right? So that makes a lot of sense. But for them to try to do it all would be crazy because this is such a robust and mature market that they're in. But this is a very interesting niche that they've identified. Sudarshan? Yeah.
Hi. My question to you is, what was the roadmap for the product initially, before you started? And what is the roadmap you see from now? Like, that you see from now, at least for the next 3 months or 6 months?
So for Protohack,
Yeah.
yeah, so, I mean, really the next 3 months, in the past 3 months, we've started chapterizing the idea of Protohack, and we've launched in, I think, 14 different cities now. So right now, we're playing the validation tool and seeing if these city directors are able to take this documentation that we've created and run them successfully in their city without him and I being involved in the day-to-day marketing, sponsors, sales, logistics, and all of that. So that's what we're focusing on really throughout the end of the year.
And as a student at Hult, right, have you taken classes at other campuses?
Yeah.
How many people have taken classes at other campuses, right? So you understand, right, that you try to create some level of universality around the experience. So they would love to make sure that the experience in London or San Francisco or Boston are equally amazing. Now, you all have seen the variances in the way we run our campuses. You know, you can't just wish to have a great experience, you have to execute, right? So they are in scale phase, right? Their roadmap is scale right now. Take a great idea and scale. And that requires a lot of quality control and a lot of management. This is how do you think Netflix got to 65 cities around the world? Netflix did not encumber their video-on-demand product with a lot of additional features. It's a fairly basic offer. And they decided they would scale a minimum viable product across the world, which is what they're doing, which is very different than a lot of the other video-on-demand companies, right? Which is why they are the biggest video-on-demand company by far, right? And it's a very similar kind of model that they're executing right now. Yeah, please, Calvin?
These digital prototyping tools like Envision and Proto.io, what's the main test out of them? Is it just the user experience you're using place, or is it more of a product solution fit test? And is there an additional step on top of that? So once you do the digital prototype, is there another prototype on top of it you consider?
You understand the question?
I do.
Okay.
I was just seeing if you were gonna.
Okay.
Yeah, so you mentioned 2 products out there, Proto.io and Envision. Raise hands of people who have heard of those or used those tools. Okay, so most people in here. For those who haven't, in short, it's a prototyping tool, code-free. It's just for designing and making mock-ups and prototypes of your app or website idea. And so you were asking to the extent that they can help you essentially build, right? And how much can they do? So really, it's just about drag and drop, visual, 2-dimensional stuff to be able to share with somebody quickly, whether it's a potential customer or an employee or a software developer. And what's great is you don't have to focus on learning how to use those tools. You're just focusing on your idea. There's a lot of other tools out there as well, like Envision or Proto.io. If you just search prototyping tool or mockup tool,
Yeah.
and really, Protohack we're agnostic to those tools, but we just want you to come to this experience and focus on just getting your idea out there, talking to customers. So those tools, those are just part of the tool set, and we're also part of the holistic tool set of just getting your idea validated. So those are just part of the mix. And you also asked if those tools themselves can do customer development. I mean, they can. It's really you putting it out there.
Yeah.
And there's other ones we'll introduce you to in the program, like there's usertesting.com, which is a platform where you can stick your mock-up on the web, and
Yeah.
they'll have people, around the world with webcams. Literally, you can watch them as their eyes go through your app idea,
Yeah.
basically.
So there's beta lists, there's an infinite number.
There's so many out there.
Yeah, Andre?
So my question, the short one, how many people do you have more or less now on your event? And how do you somehow work the process that the right people somehow fit together? To have most of the time, not being searching, networking all the time, but really get straight a team and work on a prototype.
Yeah, so we have about 100 to 120 people come to each of our events. So we probably have, anywhere from 1,000 to 1,500 people in our ecosystem right now. And how we match people up is we have a pre-hack happy hour with General Assembly in every proto-hack that we do. And we match people up by business development, marketing, and different subsets. So people can easily determine, I'm a business development, I need a marketer. or I need someone else to, really form a solid team.
And when does that happy hour take place? The night before the
Yeah,
event?
it's always the night before the event.
Okay.
Yeah.
We also have it at the beginning of the day as well, of the Protohack on the
Yeah,
Saturday.
right.
Protohack always takes place on a Saturday, and then the Friday night is the happy hour. We have color name tags with, different skill set backgrounds. I mean, there's not really many coders that show up. That's just not part of the whole methodology in general.
Right.
But I think the differentiation is important to find, skill sets where you lack with other people, or get up and, see, what idea you want to help join. If somebody's good at marketing, you're good at business, somebody's good at design, it's always good to keep that in mind, and we do give you those opportunities twice.
So,
the night before the day of.
and is there a social component where even before the happy hour, they may be able to connect through some Slack community or something like that? Or,
They can sign up via Slack and
Yeah.
connect with people in their city, and that's an easy way. Not a lot of people take advantage of
Yeah,
it,
yeah.
but it's
Okay.
there.
Follow up, go from there.
Yeah, follow up. But if you have this community and there is maybe an interesting idea that I was already always interested, I might even join the event just because I now find a team.
Yeah, sure.
I think that could be very often that you screen it, and then once there's a Protohack where you see already people gathering around the idea, you then say, okay, now it makes sense that we as a team.
Yeah, and when I run my new business ventures or my social ventures class, a lot of times different students will come in, and I run my class like a hackathon. It's a 30-hour hackathon, right? But it's over 10 sessions. And they will pitch their idea, and other students will have a similar idea, and they will come together, mobilize around the idea, and they'll bring different elements that reinforce the idea. So that's a very natural, because there's not that many original ideas out there, so there's a lot of people thinking about the same stuff, right?
And you're gonna start
Yeah.
with one idea, and by
Yeah.
the end of the day, you're gonna have a completely different
Yeah.
idea, most likely.
Yeah, which is great. Yeah, Rami?
I have 125 people interested to have a Protohack in Recife, in my hometown, Brazil. How can I do it?
So,
You've been busy since we started this.
So in order to run a Protohack in your city, we have very specific guidelines just to make sure everything goes smoothly. It's usually the main one is to have a co-director that can run it with you. And Cole and I have just learned that having two people with two different major skill sets,
Yeah.
like mine is marketing and logistics, and his is definitely sales, and he's much more extroverted than I am. And so having those two different skill sets allows you to, bring it together in an easy manner.
It's like a franchise scheme. They participate in the business model as well.
So everyone that we hire to run these are hired as 299 contractors, and so it's not necessarily a franchise, more so than it is you're just taking our brand and running with it.
Yeah, we've written a playbook. It's basically the guide from soup to nuts to plan to run a Protohack, and it's a 50-50 profit split when you run one with sponsors and ticket revenue. You and your co-director get half. Protohack's organization as a nonprofit gets half. We have a Slack channel open with you, so there's literally instant communication any time of the day with us. And Blake and I have channels pretty much with every city. And so we're there as a resource, and we pretty much just collaborate with you every step along the way. And one thing I should mention too is Blake and I did 8 events ourselves. We literally took a road show around the country. You guys might have talked about this earlier before I got here. And so we've literally like mastered and refined every minute of the day, from 3 months before planning a Protohack to the day of running a Protohack and everything that goes into it. So we make it really easy for you. You basically just connect the dots.
Cool. Other questions? Yeah, please. Ashton.
So I heard you say this is a side passion project, and you have a regular job. At what point does this become your regular job? When do you make that switch?
When we make enough money. I mean, basically it comes down to that. Right now we can manage everything that we do as a passion, time-wise. And my company uses Slack, so all I'm doing is switching between profiles.
Oh, you work for Slack?
No. But my company uses Slack.
Oh, okay.
So it's easy for me to see what's going on with Protohack during the day,
Yeah.
and respond and answer to questions
Yeah.
fairly quickly.
I got you. So you're in the app all day.
Yeah,
basically.
yeah.
Yeah. You live in Slack.
I do live in Slack.
Yeah. Andres.
How did you get your early adopters? The first segment that you find.
How do they put fannies in the seats at their first event is what you're asking?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Blake actually wasn't part of Protohack at the first event. There was a different co-founder. And funny enough, Protohack was his idea.
That's a good story.
I was just really good at running events, and I had a sales background, and so just like any other team out there, we had complementary skills. So and then he disappeared after the first event, even though it was very successful. And luckily, Blake and I had worked together, and I was looking for a new co-founder, and we had complementary skills. And Blake was very passionate about it. So anyway, to get back to your question though, now after some context, the first event really, it was a test, right? When you're starting out with any product, I look at Protohack as a product. It might be an event, but still the life cycle of figuring out how to make it successful, seeing if it's something people really want is important. So we basically downloaded our whole contacts on Gmail and just spammed all of our friends and said, would you pay $50 to go to something like this? Like, we were just doing a hypothesis before we spent any money at all, the lean methodology. And then people said, yes, this is awesome, there's a huge need for it. So we were like, all right, and I would pay. And they put their names on a petition and they said, I will actually pay money to go to this event. And so then we stuck it up on Eventbrite, people started buying tickets, and then I went around to different meetup groups and I spoke, basically just hustled. I came up with a short list of potential sponsors who I thought might be, get value out of sponsoring a Protohack, like General Assembly. I went to different communities. I actually went to Hult, and some Hult students came to end up coming to Protohack and buying tickets. So yeah, it's just a matter of being creative and hustling and getting it out there. And before you really spend money, if you can get away with it, really test it out. Make sure it's a
so let me tie this completely to the lessons of this class, right? So the very first event was really market discovery. It was human-centered design thinking, really trying to understand whether there was a pain point, right? So they ran the event and they determined that yes, this was possible. Okay? So now you have problem, solution, fit, right? So on your lean value canvas, there's a problem. This event was run sort of kind of, not in the most polished way, probably, right? The first one's a bit rough around the edges, right?
Yep.
So they had a prototype, which was event 1. Kayla might call that MVP 0, okay? And now said, okay, problem, solution, fit. Now we're gonna build an MVP. And they probably went through some methodology to have a more sophisticated agenda with a lot more insight into how you move the day through, right? And so over the last couple of, 8-9 months, they've moved to what we would call product market fit. They're able to replicate the same event in different cities, and they have now achieved product market fit as the founders, bootstrapping this business. Now with product market fit, what do we say we do when we get to product market fit? We scale, okay? So now they are in search of a business model. So Ashton's question was, when do you guys do this full time? And the answer is when we can make money. So now they're in search of a business model. And that business model is, can we create a sustainable, profitable business using this methodology that we can scale globally, right? So it's exactly the same process that we've been talking about for the last 3 days, okay? Happens to be today an event-based services business, but it's exactly the same process, okay? Cool, I saw a couple other hands. Was it, yeah, please, Patrick and then Ashwin, okay?
It sounds like you guys are focused at the moment on doing cities and expanding kind of like that, but there is an element of this that could also be like kind of a consulting thing almost, where you could go and maybe explore another business model where you go into maybe a company or something like that and help them come up with it. Is that something you're thinking about?
Yeah, so we're working with a company right now where we're taking it into the human resources industry. We're running Protohacks in the form of, for HR tech basically, where we invite practitioners and recruiters to come, and we're building products specifically within the HR space. We've talked to a few other companies who are wanting us to bring it in, and we talked to one who had a mechanical shop of some sort to bring it in there.
Yeah.
So it's definitely we do have white label hackathons that we do under Protohack's brand.
Yeah, because you can imagine a lot of large, in strategics, right, are trying to replicate lean startup methodologies and design thinking methodologies, and they're trying to allow their employees to be more innovative. And this is the first step in the innovation cycle, is to, you know, refine my idea to a prototype. And I can imagine a lot of large corporations would get great value out of having their employees schooled in this methodology, right, as a more effective way to start thinking about new product development, stuff like that. Very great question, Patrick. Ashwin, please.
Yeah, so the whole business model runs around giving value to those people who have no idea about coding but have an idea about it that they want to execute.
Yeah.
So now if you run a Protohack, and there's a lot of people who have a coding background and they show up and they manage to steal the show. How do you maintain the quality and make sure that people are still confident of attending a Protohack, even though they don't know coding, and there's a bunch of people who are also part of Protohack who do know coding?
Remember, nobody at Protohack knows coding.
No, but if like say I know coding and I join, I mean, I attend the thing, I might have an added advantage.
So we've had about 12% of our people, they're actually developers that attend. And the way we work around that is, if you've ever talked to an accelerator, they're always looking for people who have refined their idea like tenfold before they even jump into an accelerator. So a developer, yeah, they know how to code, they can, you know, take whatever they create and code it the day after. But Protohack's more focused on the idea and the validation behind the idea, and anyone can, you know, build an idea and validate it without having to even know the program inside of it.
Yeah. So the guy that runs Pinterest is a guy by the name of Ben Sobel. He's a designer, and his quote is, "Before we write one line of code, we basically prototype the customer experience." Okay, so it's not so code is nothing more than a specific function that allows you to deliver an experience, but there's the entire business model, right? So remember what we said on day one, Moneyball? 95% of all investment goes into product innovation, but 95% of all wealth comes from business model innovation. So if you keep collapsing back to product innovation and code, you're focusing in the wrong domain. Okay?
Yeah, I actually have a couple thoughts on that. So one is, we've actually had developers come up to us and thank us after the event. They say, "Thank you for helping push me in the right direction, and I need to start with the design before just jumping into coding."
Yeah.
And the other thing is there's so much more. Like, think of it like an iceberg. Like, code's part of it, but like there's so much more to your startup idea.
Absolutely. So Raphael, then Sharif, okay?
How are you going to create defensibility for these new pieces that you are creating? Basically, do you think how you're going to block competitors?
Love that question. Classic investor question. How do you build a moat around your business, right? I think that going to market fast is really important for us, and spreading with the city director model and the brand. I think the brand is the core of our value and the differentiation. We've seen like people run like protothons and some other things around there, but I think by adding the brand value of like this network of contacts that we have, just knowing what venues are cool in what city, and having a city or director just being able to plug in and just get going and instantly build a community in their city, I think is truly valuable. But you're right, with an events company, it's inherently hard to build a moat around that. Anybody can run an event, it's not rocket science, right? But yeah, I think the brand defensibility is really number one.
It's delivering an awesome experience and then having the word of mouth that spreads that, right? And so that's really, they're in the business of curating experience and scaling that experience across a lot of cities. Yeah, Sharif?
So, is there any current limitation that what are the ideas you can currently really validate, because it's a very short period of time what you run for Protohack? For example, a company which is like a two-sided market like TaskRabbit, so you can validate one view, like the user view, but what about supply? What kind of limitation do you see today in this model?
Well, it's only 12 hours, so there's only so much you can do. There are inherent weaknesses and strengths to such a short type of hackathon experience, especially when it comes to customer development. But the benefits, though, is instead of just focusing on code, you're actually focusing on a lot of other stuff, which aren't normal for most hackathons. And there are tools that you can get a lot of that done in a short amount of time. Like I said, user testing or Mechanical Turk, you can get answers to a lot of your questions really fast, like within minutes. And the other thing is how we encourage you to get out of the building or speak with people They could be other attendees at the hackathon, just go over and bother them and see what they think. People don't even do these things. They don't even talk to other people in a lot of cases when they're starting their idea. They're just so inside their head thinking they have this great idea. And just that very act of just starting to change that habit within that 12-hour event is very powerful for a lot of people. And it can really help you mold your idea in that short amount of time. And at least get you started in the right direction, right? A journey of 1,000 steps is terrible if you start the first step off improperly, right?
Absolutely.
But yeah, two-sided marketplaces are tough.
Yeah.
And you do have to find not only the right product market fit, but you've got to find your right customers from the get-go and figure that out. So that's a challenge. It's a great challenge, but yeah, we can at least steer you in the right direction, and that's the value we aim to provide.
Yeah, and you might think that you're going to approach a multi-sided market, you've got to prototype each side of that marketplace, right? And you almost would want to have people working on prototypes on both sides or all three sides at the same time, because they all need to be validated in one way, right? Lena?
Did you consider, because you wanted to build this fast to protect your brand, right? Did you consider partnering up with strategic brands that means startup or like Startup Grind, which is like a community that, talks about startups and like these big brands that could support you and your methodology or something?
Yeah, so we've actually secured a national partnership with General Assembly, who, that's one of their main core focuses is the business student. And so our prototyping, hackathon plays right into what they're doing. And our third board member is actually the third person that was on Startup Grind. So now we're starting to enter a conversation with Startup Grind to see if we can expand Protohack, 100 times with having Startup Grind directors run Protohack as well.
They have ambassadors everywhere.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So plugging into that would be amazing.
Okay, over here first and then Alessandro, yeah, please.
Hi, so do you have any topics or industries for the ideas that you're going to be focusing on the Protohacks?
Do they have any guidelines?
No, the ideas, for example, finance or education, or
Right.
and does that affect how you choose your mentors?
So the Protohacks that we run in each city, it's not themed at all.
Right.
So we try to find product mentors and pitch mentors who are really good in product design, and we've had people, from all big Fortune 500 companies and some really good tech companies come and mentor people on product. So we haven't run, when we do run themed Protohacks, we would go into the industry to find specific people.
Yeah, so if you're looking for health IT mentors, there's specific healthcare accelerators, there's other places to go find that stuff. That would be a very different model for them to run themed. That could be an expansion strategy down the road, but that's a much more focused business. Right? Yeah, Alessandro?
Okay. My understanding that you arrange events both in the US and Europe across the world. What's I saw on your website that is upcoming events in London next December. What's based on your experience, cultural difference to start up a business in the US compared to Europe or other?
Honestly, we have no experience right now. So London is our first major.
That's the first one.
Yeah, we have Vancouver coming up, but Canada and US are kind of,
It's pretty much on Canada, so, yeah.
No,
Exactly. It's just a big suburb. It's a big suburb.
What do you expect of this coming?
So far we've had a lot of good places in London really, open their doors to us, and we have a free venue in London just because I can't even remember the name of the place, but Whitechapel something. They love the idea. General Assembly's over there as well, so we had that support. And then the two people that run it out in London, they're very confident that it's going to go over very well. And so that's what I'm hoping for right now.
Ayla, you had your hand on?
Yeah. First of all, it sounds awesome, and I really hope to make it in September. And I was just wondering, in what moment of the day the frustration kicks in?
For the people that are prototyping. Yeah.
3 p.m.
4?
Really, when you've gone through so much of your idea and you hit a roadblock and you understand, well, this isn't gonna work, and you have to switch your idea at midday, that's a lot of frustration. Of course, when it comes down to time to submit, you have 15 minutes left, people are working very diligently and they're trying to stay calm, but there's a time crunch with it. But usually around 3 p.m., it's right after lunch, people are just now starting, like a couple hours have passed, and then that's when they hit their first roadblock. So watch out.
But the great thing is, the mentors are there to catch you, right?
Yeah,
So,
working when they come.
there you go.
Cool. Any additional questions for these guys? Yeah, please, go for it.
So, as your day progresses, so do you have certain guidelines? So I come into the Protohack and you have certain steps that I take to bring my idea, find my team, progress to the day, and you reach a certain point. How does that work?
Yeah, so at the beginning of the day, we tell you how much time to spend on each part of your idea, whether it's coming up with it, validating it, prototyping it, putting together your final presentation. So we understand that's a short period of time to do all of this in, so we've come up with a way that, you maximize time most efficiently if you follow the guidelines that we set forth at the beginning.
Go for it, Andre.
One question, you have at the end a prize for people, so people want to win, of course. So how do you avoid that people come already with pre-prepared material to have, kind of a benefit over the other teams? They have already worked a couple of more hours in validating and even preparing nice slides, presentation, everything.
Yeah, so it's hard to, if someone has an idea like a month in advance, it's hard to, say you can't come if you already have an idea. So our main thing is you can't prototype your idea beforehand. You can't really start working on it beforehand, but people will have ideas just because that's the nature of what we're trying to do. You're in an industry, you understand a problem, so you have an idea, but you haven't done anything with it. And so as long as you have a prototype, that's our main guideline behind it.
And I realize people are competitive, but you shouldn't go into this experience thinking you're gonna win. You should come into this experience thinking you're gonna learn, right? That's what it's all about.
If you come in with the idea that you wanna win, you're not coming into the event for the right reasons.
Yeah, exactly.
I think 80-90% are for sure that mindset, but if they have the feeling that, as it is very often, if you have the feeling something is going wrong, and you see that these other team, you start 1 hour and they already use the prototype tool days before, they already come up with a very clear solution. So
But you know what, but then they should win.
Yeah.
Okay, because they're freaking committed to their idea, okay? You don't want to penalize them for preparing, do you?
If you sign up 2 months in advance and you start, we encourage people to learn the tools beforehand.
Okay.
So if people sign up, 2 months in advance and don't do anything, and then one person does, then, by all means.
Yeah, we had an experience here in Hult campus where we had in the Hult Prize, right? An MIT team won the Hult Prize regional competition. They'd been working on the idea for 4 years. They had fucking patents, okay? They had patents, okay? As you would expect MIT teams to do. So God bless these people. They were serious. It's what it's about, right? Yeah, please, Rashmi, then I'm gonna come to Kareem, and then who else has your hand? Yeah, and then I'll go back to Rafiq. Okay, go for it.
It's somewhat kind of what you're talking about. What is the kind of mindset that you want to bring when I start off, like when I arrive at that day? What's the mindset you suggest I bring it? And secondly, what is usually the most challenging, not just part of the day, the challenging part of the process where people are not expecting it, but where they usually find the most hurdles or where it's the most difficult part?
Yeah, so we tell people to come in to learn and not to win. So that's the mindset you should have coming into the day, where you want to learn about, how to come up with a good idea, how to validate your idea, how to prototype an idea. And so a lot of things we see is people come to Protohack, they have an idea they present, and then a month later they have a whole nother idea that's better. But coming to Protohack, they've learned the foundation of prototyping, validating, and just getting a good sense of how to walk through that. So learning those steps are going to be a foundation for your next 10 ideas that you have. And the most frustrating aspect of the day is probably hitting that first roadblock, in whether you work on an idea for 2 hours and then you start talking to people about it and they say, oh, I've already heard of this. This is this app or this is this app. Then that's the most frustrating that I would think it is.
All right, Kareem, and then I'm gonna go to Raphael and Alice, and then Ajita, right? And then I think we're gonna start wrapping this up.
So I have a couple of questions. First, how many people are usually in the event?
90 to 100 usually actually show up.
90 to 100, right? Like this calculation, like I made like 50 per person. Like how do you get the money out of it? Like how do you get your revenue out of the?
They already answered that, bro.
Ah, all right.
They sell tickets and they have sponsorships.
Sponsorship.
So if you go to the Eventbrite page, you'll see they have
I
early
saw
bird
that,
and,
but
you know.
don't have any other types of just sponsors and.
Yep, that's all.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, okay, that's cool. All right, Raphael.
Yes, sir. Have you, do you have also private events in particular companies? And have you ever considered to sell yourself as an educational?
They've covered both of those
program?
already. They've covered both of those.
Yes.
So here's the answer, yes and yes.
Create soft skills instead
Okay.
of
Yes.
actually generating an idea for a company.
Okay, coming back this way, okay, coming back this way. Alice, go for it.
Maybe I also missed something, but I still don't understand. When basically people come, how do they find the team? They announce their
Yeah,
board
so-
or in person or?
So beforehand, you can join our Slack community and team up that way. You can team up via General Assembly's happy hour the night before, or you can team up the day of. And so you give a short, this is who I am, this is my idea, or this is my skill set, and then you can ask people that way.
And there are
90 to 100 people then.
90 to 100 people, so you have enough time to announce everyone's idea?
Yeah, because we give them so many opportunities that most people will find a teammate at the happy hour beforehand, which is about 2 hours. And then we have probably, 15, 20 people the day of that are pitching ideas or pitching their skill set.
And that puts a lot of energy in the room, right? Those pitches create a lot of energy.
And the second question, you mentioned that your favorite company was events company, but I missed the name of the company.
I don't remember, to be honest. It's been a year.
Yeah, okay.
A lot of names have come through.
Cool. I bet we can find it if we needed to though, right?
Of
Yeah.
course.
Ajit.
So, I mean, I like the idea, and you guys have a vision of helping other people. Where else do you want to take this? Like, I understand that this is going to go big, because something like this is a new concept to a lot of people. So where else do you want to take this, and how far, I mean, what's your future vision of helping? What kind of feedback have people given you? It's like, hey, I want to see something more.
I mean, to be frank, we're still figuring that out.
Yeah.
We don't know if we want to take it into an education company where we're educating very early stage entrepreneurs, or we don't know if we're wanting to take it post Protohack and, really create some type of foundation to help non-technical people, match them with developers or, show them how they can go further with their idea. So I have no idea yet.
It's going to happen organically, right? The scaling, the scaling will generate a whole new round of feedback. It will go back to Alessandro's question: how does this work in London, Berlin, or Tel Aviv compared to how it works in Silicon Valley or Boston or New York? Right? There's a lot of learning to be had here still, right? I let you have your hand up before you.
Yeah, just a quick for demographics.
Yeah.
Like female percentage, ages.
Yeah, so we have about 40% females who come to the event, which is
awesome.
a lot higher than all hackathons.
Yeah, that's great.
No
Because
coding.
there's no coding.
Yeah.
Exactly. Makes sense. Yeah.
Age ranges we've had, I think the oldest person that's come is in their mid to late 60s. And we've had middle school students come as well.
Awesome.
And
That's
everyone-
awesome.
Yeah.
That's great.
There's no minimum.
Cool.
There's no minimum.
Yeah, I mean,
You have to be able to at least hit a keyboard. At least you have to be 4 weeks old.
Can't come to the office.
Yeah, exactly.
4 weeks old is our.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
That's awesome.
You want to do a follow-up?
No, sorry, what's the average age?
Oh,
I would say most people are in, their late 20s, early 30s, but I mean, we have a lot of people in
it's
their.
this group right here.
Yeah,
It's
it's,
this audience right
but
here.
we also
Yeah.
have 40s and
Yeah.
50s coming,
Yeah.
even up to 60s.
Yeah, Christopher? Yeah.
Thank you. I come from Bristol in the UK, where all the networks seem to fail all the time.
What do you mean by the network seem to fail? That the communities don't get to...
Communities, there's no...
There's no staying power?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've in the healthcare sector, I've seen hackathon type events be organized, and they work in a similar model, so you have a sponsorship scheme that favors it. So the two questions. One is, you said you don't have themes today. What are the pros and cons of having themes? And if you had to face a situation where, you know, when you arrive in a city and you want things to happen a number of times, what would be the criteria that you would focus it on to try to get that momentum going?
Yeah, so on the theme question, we're actually about to start experimenting with that here in SF, just because it's ground zero for us. But to build a community and make sure it doesn't fall off after one event or two events. And at Startup Weekends model is where anyone can host a Startup Weekend anytime they want to. We switched that around and said, we want to hire people who will control Protohack for at least a year.
Right.
And in that year's time, they're going to run 2 events, and they're going to run several meetups that are geared towards the non-technical entrepreneur. And so that's how I see us sustaining a community outside the one-time event. And we've launched the meetup realm here in San Francisco. We require once every quarter for city directors, but we host them once a month just because it's San Francisco.
Right.
So I mean, the pros to doing a general hackathon is you're going to get more attention and more people. The con to having the themed hackathon is you're going to segregate a lot of your audience.
Now, it's very possible if you do an event in a specific region, it's extremely deep in semiconductors or biotech or medical devices or whatever it might be, right? So there's this organic thing where maybe Bristol has a certain depth of expertise, and a lot of the people that show up are going to bring that theme with them. But it would be really hard at this stage for them to impose a theme on a community. It's just way too early for that, right? Okay, yeah, go for it, son.
I'm just thinking it would be awesome if you guys taught a course here.
I do not know if I am educated enough to do that.
Yeah, I mean, again, I think rather than them teach a course here, you go to their full day event. You have the full-on Protohack experience. That's where it happens, right? I mean, listen, the only thing that happens in this classroom is you get a foundation, but the way that you build a startup, you get your ass out of this building and you roll up your sleeves and you just go do it. Okay? So September 19th coming up really soon.
Yep.
You're going to be in San Francisco?
I'm going to.
You're going to go to class. It's not on Hult's campus, but it's you can't ask for a better experience than to go work with the founders of this organization in their hometown, where they've run multiple events, right? All right, cool. All right, so question: Lean Startup Machine, right? They've been around for a while, right? So I don't know if they've got they're going away or not, but how do you guys compare to Lean Startup Machine?
Lean Startup Machine is 4 times the cost, and I believe it's over a whole weekend.
Yeah.
It's a little bit like Startup Weekend.
Yeah.
Their goal is, well, it's also even more generally, you can start any business. You can start a beef jerky subscription company there.
Right, okay.
And their goal is to just try and get you to get a first sale out of it.
Right, which is kind of interesting. It seems like you're putting the cart before the horse.
A little bit, yeah. So it's pretty intense, it's very expensive, and but if you're just trying to like get your first sale and you want like a really business focused thing, not really design or product or necessarily tech, then it could be a good option.
So it's more of a custom focus than a prototype.
Yeah, it's very customer focused.
I see. Okay, cool. Anybody want the last question, or can we let these guys go enjoy the rest of the weekend? Please, Jessica.
So for students like us, we've been studying in different cities, and who knows where we're going to end up after, and probably not in San Francisco for a lot of us. If we're interested in this, but we're going to a new city, and is that a possibility for us, or do you have to be somewhere? I was looking on your website, it says you have 1 year of experience in the city, 2 years.
Oh, you're talking about running, being a city director?
Yeah, if you wanted to do something like that, but you're going somewhere new, is that something you're open to?
Yeah, I think the first step is to send us an email, fill out the form online, and we just talk through it, really.
Yeah, you've got to imagine that you need to have some equity in a community to be able to rally the community, right? And the further away from San Francisco, the more challenging that might be. So you would want a co-founder, I would imagine, that has been living there for a long time, would be my guess. Otherwise, it would be very difficult to get this out of the gate.
Yeah, if you've got great strengths with sales or overall hustling or, kind of creatively finding sponsors or whatever, but you're moving somewhere, then just find somebody that complements you with the other areas.
Yeah, and I'll give you, so I was asked by Startup Next to launch Startup Next in Boston. And, you know, Startup Next had expanded all over the world, but they had never found somebody to launch in Boston. And so in February, I asked Miriam and Lorena, and I had, you know, a small team of people. And I've been in Boston 20 years. And it was a lot of energy to launch Startup Next in a market where we have Techstars and Mass Challenge and Founders Institute and Startup Institute and General Assembly, and I can go on for the next hour, right? And so my knowledge of the community, my relationship with mentors and angel investors allowed me to do something overnight that someone who had not been there could never have gotten. Okay, so I'm going to be helping them run Boston. I have a young guy that became a Startup Next mentor with me who is very complimentary. He's 20 years younger than me. He's a CTO, and so our skills are very complementary. Our age group is very different, and he's the perfect complement, right? So like anything, anytime you start a new business, you have to have domain expertise and equity. And I'm not trying to discourage you, but you need to be realistic about what's possible, right? Cool. All right, anybody else? No? We good? So how many people think they may show up on so I would imagine if you want to go, I would recommend that you register sooner rather than later because they have an early bird pricing. And you're going to lose the momentum if you say, I'm not going to register today, I'm going to wait till next week. Then you're going to forget. And then you're going to go register, it's going to be sold out, and you're going to say, shit. Right? So if you want to do it, register now, right? Register now. We're going to take a break in a few minutes. Register now. Do it.
We're just waiting for
Yeah, I'll get the code.
Okay. Okay. All right. You gonna do that from your mobile phone too? Awesome. Do it right now, man. Yeah, that's great. That's great. See this is what I love about how you get all the benefits. You get to take a steam bath during class yesterday, and you get 30% off Protohack, right? Just by $70,000 tuition. What is all the benefits you guys, all the perks and all the goodies you guys get. Yeah, go for it, okay.
So what sort of support do you guys need locally for you that you would love to have locally?
We love volunteers.
No, really, I'm really asking.
Yeah,
I think there's a big
for real,
community
right?
here, myself included, that could be.
Yeah, I mean, right now, if you were to go to a Protohack, you would see me running around.
Yeah.
Crazy.
Hair on fire.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I mean, volunteers the day of is amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm always up to, if you guys have an extended network that I don't have, you know, telling the friends about it and just getting the word spread around San Francisco about it.
Yeah, so I noticed in their video, they have a Hult student from my very first year teaching here named Young Sok. Young was an Army officer in Iraq. He's one of the most enthusiastic young men you will ever meet in your life, and if you know him, you like him, period, okay? So, you know, so clearly there's room for people to go in and bring their energy into the event, right? Young's awesome.
100%.
Love that guy.
Yep.
He was amazing. He's a great student. Some students are just, you know, amazing to work with. Cool.
Yeah, but if you
Right,
want to
working on a
volunteer,
30% thing, huh?
Yeah, Blake at protohack.org. If you want to volunteer, just shoot me an email.
Cool.
I'll get this code.
All right.
I think you just did it, right? 50%?
Not enough.
No?
Done. Is that
Almost.
right? So maybe we're gonna set an all-time record for the number of registrations in like a minute. We're gonna break your server?
I would.
Gonna break Eventbrite server, we're gonna blow it up?
Yeah, break everything.
Okay. Cool. How many people are gonna register right now? Come on, man up. Yeah.
Say I don't have an idea, I don't really am going here to get an idea to run this. If I just wanted to go and learn and see the whole process, see other people's ideas, do you have people that do that?
Oh yeah, like half. Yeah, like you don't have to have a team, you don't have to have an idea. And that's the great thing. It's there's something for everybody there. There's people there that are ready to start a startup. They might even already have an idea. They've been working on it. There's some people that are just like, what's this crazy like tech thing all about, right? I kind of had this app idea, you know, and they might be 40 years old, they might be 20 years old, and they come, they have a great time. And,
Yeah, Ashton, I would be shocked if
everything there
between
for everybody.
the Slack community, the pre-event happy hour, and the early morning pitch session, there are gonna be more than one idea you're gonna get really excited about, and you're gonna actually struggle to choose which guy you align with or which woman you align with. I promise you, okay?
All right, cool. Yeah, it's gonna be a good one down there.
All right, guys, 30% good to
Well,
go?
I need an artisan's computer.
Okay.
That doesn't work.
Okay.
You want to-
Lorena, would you be kind enough? Okay. While they're doing that, I'm gonna thank these gentlemen for giving up the part of this.